like, bro, yeah, she got a kid. Look at his back. Oh my god.
Yo, what's up? Welcome back to another reaction. We're gonna be reacting to find out why the worst American president ever was so loved.
Yeah, I think they're talking about Barack Obama, most likely. Coming in to the White House, I mean, this is the first black president ever. So, you know, that hysteria, that feeling of just like, wow, things have really changed. Is, you know, it was probably overwhelming for a lot of people at the time. And you got to think, this is really before all these conspiracy theories and really were like going through people's minds. People weren't thinking too deep about like.
No, they were. They definitely were.
Oh yeah, I mean, it was asking about like birth certificate and things.
Especially like people in the '90s, bro. There'd be people like in like shut-ins, like homestead in their cribs, like the government's after me.
But not even like talking about the conspiracy theory, but like just his
actual
like on the internet,
his
actual policies and like what he actually stood for coming into the White House and what people thought he was going to do for black folks whenever he got that much power. But this is we got to remember, man, as a president, you're almost a figurehead, really. Like niggas, people really run this country, or the trillionaires, the billionaires, these super rich corporations, these big banks who really like who really has the capability to have influence everywhere, even in the government. They can bribe people, all this other things.
Oh, God.
You know what I mean? So he probably did go in there with some intuition thinking he was going to change certain things. You know, but you know, once you get in there, the niggas with the briefcases and the suits and the blue ties come in, they tell you what you're really going to be doing. And he's like, this is what you're going to do. This is what we had planned for you. And if you don't do this, we'll probably assassinate you. You know what I mean? But then again, there's the whole thing of Barack Obama being related to like every other president. And
yeah, he's related to George Bush. Yeah,
it's weird, very weird. So it's like maybe this nigga didn't win. Maybe he was chosen. He was like
they chose his cousin to have babies with this African guy. They probably picked him out from jail.
Yeah. And then you got Michael
Obama.
No, Michelle Obama. People think she's a transgender.
You think so?
No.
I don't think so.
I don't think.
But if that was true, that'd be crazy.
Yeah,
I was like, dang, man. Like, and who are the kids then, man?
They're saying that there's these black folk, this black chick and her husband who be with the Obamas a lot. And they're saying that their daughters look a lot like them. So they're saying that they kind of use their children as a front, saying like, this is our family. I mean, we look at them, they look exactly like those people. I'm like, oh, I don't know, man. Who knows?
Did they have children and like give them away?
That's what people were saying. Like the Obamas use their children as like a, you know, like a front. Like we have a family in the White House. This is my wife. These are my two girls. You know what I mean? But even just that, you got to think about like, why did black people vote for Obama? Did you vote for him just because he's black, or did he actually say anything that did he make it a point to say, oh, I'm going to do this for black folks, I'm going to try to do this for other minority groups? No. But we're going to hop in. We're going to see what Thomas Sowell got to say. This is a Thomas Sowell reaction. Hit the like button, subscribe, and share on over.
A few clips of the President of the United States delivering his State of the Union address earlier this year. Clip number 1.
Higher education can't be a luxury. It is an economic imperative that every family in America should be able to afford.
Higher education, an imperative. All he's asking is that all young Americans should have the same opportunity to get a really good education that Tom Sowell had. Tom?
I love the use of the word opportunity. You know, I had as much opportunity to become an NBA star as Michael Jordan had. It just happens that there was some difference in skill. And so the same thing with education. There is no point trying to run people through institutions that they have very little interest in and that they may not be suited for. In fact, I would argue that one of the problems of American education is you have a lot of people in college who have no interest in what a college is supposed to be, because of the people who are not there for that purpose and who who you're trying to appease in some way.
And is the impulse that we just saw of Barack Obama and his supporters to constantly more and more people run them through college,
Yes.
and that's what? That's to enhance the standing of intellectuals in society, to teach more and more Americans to defer to intellectuals? Is that part of what's going on?
It's to win votes, frankly.
All right. Straightforward.
It's all about the votes.
President Obama once again.
I will not cede the wind or solar or battery industry to China or Germany because we refuse to make the same commitment here.
He's fucking cat, bro. Half our industry is already in China, nigga.
For a century.
Everything iPhones are made.
That's long enough.
This is pre-cylinder.
Tom?
You know, this notion of picking out something and calling it a good thing, like education or affordable housing or whatever it might be, everything is a matter of trade-off. What did the band say there?
That he will not cede wind or solar or the battery industry to China or Germany because we refuse to make the same commitment.
It's amazing that here is a man talking about 5 different industries, in none of which he has the slightest experience. You know, but because he has these degrees from the places you mentioned, he thinks, and people have told him how clever he is, he now thinks that he can do this.
So can you...
No human being on this planet could do this.
Can you explain, Tom, the particular appeal to intellectuals of the kind you describe here, of the green movement, of the environmental movement?
Oh, it shows them again in the role they relish. They're the wise and noble, forcing the rest of us poor dummies to do what's right, you know, even though we don't want to.
I mean, you're just saying it's ego and pride and vanity?
Yes.
All right. Once again, the President of the United States.
Tax reform should follow the Buffett rule. If you make more than $1 million a year, you should not pay less than 30% in taxes. And my Republican friend Tom Coburn is right. Washington should stop subsidizing millionaires. In fact, if you're earning $1 million,
This nigga made like $200,000 in office. Now he's like worth like $60 million. Niggas is fucking cap. Niggas is cap. Niggas talking about industry. Half our industries across the world. That's why niggas can't even get jobs outside of what's supposed to be school taught degrees.
Because there's nothing really here.
Yeah, the payment you're going to get for jobs even after you have a degree.
Yeah, because people are just really outsourced from other countries. You'll see like people on Zoom calls with like people from like India,
nigga, like,
and like China. It's like
what the, like, where's all the industry jobs here for all the people who don't want to go to college and read books and become doctors and become whatever? Like, there's people who are more capable with their hands. Like, there's other jobs out there that you can have, but that's why I felt like they kind of got rid of that. What was that thing for minorities where if you were black, you can just get into a college?
You talking about the Native American?
Is that what that is?
Yeah, it's like if you have, I think, part Native American, you're able to get to college for free.
Well, there's that's a thing too. But there is a, and I think it was I think it's called No Child Left Behind type, where if you're able to, if you're able to prove you're a minority, you was able to get into a higher league college. I'm not talking about like Harvard or something, but you know, you was able to get into like a nice college, damn near for free, just because you were black or you were a minority. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like you said, they say and peddle this garbage because that's what people want to hear in the short term. And then when the 4 years pass, they peddle the same again to you, and nothing has actually changed. And if it has changed, it's changed for the worse.
If you make under $250,000 a year, like 98% of American families, your taxes shouldn't go up.
I love it.
That's cap.
Tom?
When people keep their own money, that's called subsidizing them. I love it. You know, that's the brilliance of intellectuals. That they can use words in such a malleable way that they can. I mean, Obama has an absolute talent for saying things that make no sense. Inspiring.
Damn.
You know, we're subsidizing the oil companies when they deduct the cost of doing business in order to arrive at the figure of how much net income they have. Everybody does that.
Right. So this notion, though, that if you're rich, you ought to pay more. Straightforward enough, no?
It is straightforward, but it's also straightforward nonsense.
Why is that?
People don't. They often speak of people who are rich as people who happen to have money.
Right.
Extremely few people happen to have money.
There aren't that many Rockefellers.
Well, but Rockefeller didn't happen to have money.
But his heirs happen to have it.
Heirs happen to have money.
So you're
but
drawing
Rockefeller, Rockefeller reduced the cost of oil to a fraction of what it had been before him, benefiting millions of people across the country. Therefore, they bought their oil from Rockefeller rather than from people who had more expensive ways of producing oil. For example, one of them being the use of tank cars on the railroads. The progressives were livid that Rockefeller could ship his oil at a cheaper price than the other producers. It never occurred to them that Rockefeller shipped his oil in tank cars, which were a hell of a lot cheaper to transport than in barrels. Right. I mean, we still measure oil in barrels today, but we ship it in tankers.
Right.
And that's how he became a multi-billionaire.
So we know from the study of economic history that wealthy people get wealthy by creating jobs, lowering prices of products. Rather than Bill Gates, the richest man in America, one of the richest men in the world, invented an entire industry that simply didn't. All right, we know all that, and we also know, as we mentioned earlier, that cutting taxes worked to spur economic growth in the 20s. Again, under John Kennedy in the 60s. Actually, it was Johnson who ended up. Most of the tax cuts took place, let's call it under the 60s, and then again in Ronald Reagan in the 1980s.
And then George W. Bush.
And George W. Bush. So how is it that he can stand there in the face of this overwhelming evidence and be taken seriously? I'm not asking now about Barack Obama as an intellectual. I'm asking about...
Again, you're just saying shit you want to hear. They're not going to
that's the question
tax.
of the hour. You have people who don't stop and think.
He take advantage of the same tax.
Dumbed down education. You've
had
had
it could, but they can't.
Education. And people, what he's saying connects with all those kinds of things.
All right.
They make the money.
It goes the other way too. I was just doing some research on Detroit
because they gotta meet those
and they
thresholds.
kept raising the city income tax, and every time they raised the tax rate, the tax revenues went down. Mm. It ruined Detroit, but it didn't.
I just have you and I happen to be reading on a similar subject. From 1950 to the present, two things happened. One was that the population of the United States of America roughly doubled, and the other was that the population of Detroit fell by roughly half.
Yes.
Unbelievable. All right. You write in Intellectuals in Society about the intellectuals' view of diplomacy and military affairs. One last clip of the President of the United States.
Thank heaven I'm sitting down.
Look at Iran. Through the power of our diplomacy, a world that was once divided about how to deal with Iran's nuclear program now stands as one. The regime is more isolated than ever before.
Y'all fucking killed the
Its
Democratic
leaders are
leader
faced
of
with
Iran.
crippling sanctions.
It used to be a very much westernized
they
country.
shirk their responsibilities, this pressure will not relent.
Tom, will you sleep better tonight having heard that?
I may take a sleeping pill so I can forget it. This man has diddled with Iran to the point where the military people are saying, you know, even if we decide to go in and bomb that place, they're so dispersed, so far underground, it's by no means clear that we can do it. The time when he was going through all this wonderful diplomacy he talks about was precisely the time when those things were put underground and dispersed. It's like when Hitler was arming, you know, that, as Churchill said, at one point, a memorandum could have stopped Hitler. You know, because the power was so lopsidedly on the side of the Western democracies. It's like they could say, stop rearming or else. And we can't do that with they diddled with Iran to the point where now we don't know.
Now, but there's something interesting about, to me, whereas with social policy, intellectuals tend to go for the policies that give them greater power. What greater power could an intellectual seek than military power, the power to blow things up? So
because they believe that, again, that their intellect is the unique factor that is going to save us, and to say that there are a bunch of military people are going to be more effective than doing all these terribly clever things that Obama is doing undermines their whole position.
I see. All right.
If you love Sleepy Joe, then you do not.
Okay. Yeah.
I feel like there's just certain things they have to say to control the masses, because if they didn't say those things, it would probably get 100 times worse. You see how people get like mad about Corona, and like see how like frantic people were. It's just like I feel like you have to. They got to control us because we got some real idiots here, and it's our country's fault.
It's a lot of things. It's the bureaucracy in Washington. You know, it's the constant. You say one thing, but you do another. You know what I mean? You throw a rock and hide your hand type.
Can you imagine doing that?
America has gotten to the point where I feel like we're so full of ourselves that you're seeing it now. You're seeing it unfold now. It's going to get real bad soon. Other countries are tired of America constantly hovering over motherfuckers, saying, "Hey, we got to do things this way, and if you don't do it this way, we want to bring democracy to you guys." You know what that means? We're going to bomb your cities. We want to destroy your country. A country which was doing fine before we came here. Just so we can have...
It wasn't even a country, it was just a land.
Yeah, just so our companies can have a monopoly over your resources and type things. That's why you're seeing...
kill everybody here if you don't do what we say.
Yeah, if you don't trade by the dollar, we want to f you over. But that's why you're seeing countries like China, countries like Russia, countries like Brazil, countries like Saudi Arabia, countries in Africa. They're trying to unite within themselves, create like a new world order to where we don't have to adhere to the United States anymore or their dollar.
It's just like
because the same
we're
thing.
Just too shady.
Yeah, exactly. These people in Washington are shady as they don't exactly what he's doing.
It's like how do you increase your money by being in debt each year?
The same trash they peddle to us is the same trash they're peddling to the people overseas.
And they're like, no, they're like
we're not gonna be under your boot for the next 400 years.
Stuff that don't even make no sense.
Exactly. But
it's just like we can control because like we have the force. We have like the actual like military power.
Exactly, to be able to
exploit all those countries.
You know. But then again, we have people in Washington who just aren't. Like he said, it's that vanity. They're at such a level anymore. They're not thinking clearly of like what things can happen as they trickle down to the people at the bottom. It's like down here is trash, bro. I understand it's all sunshine and rainbows up there. You can go on Ellen and dance and cook and cookies, and then go back to bombing people in Syria whenever you get back to the White House. You think they're jokes, man? I don't know.
I think they're jokes.
I don't know. I don't know who I think I'm gonna vote for when it comes to this next election. I've been looking at RFK. I don't know. I feel like RFK is really the guy who's actually asking the right questions. Because one thing that needs to happen is the CIA needs to be gone. And if it's not the CIA, it needs to be the FBI. The FBI they've become a corrupt fucking entity. They've been assassinating journalists, they introduced crack to our communities, destroyed the black community, just so they can fund a war in Nicaragua. Like, these niggas they're on a whole other thing. That's a whole other discussion. But hit that like, subscribe, and share with the 10K. We're gonna see you next time.
Peace.
Peace.